Hi, I'm Mike, 17 years educator, 18 years high school principal. I'm well versed with adolescents and people. And the other thing I want to start with is I am not the guru of education. I don't want to come across as that at all. I'm a regular educator. I don't want to come across as charlatan, just giving information out that doesn't make sense. The system I have for bullying, for me, it's been 100% effective. I've used it hundreds of times, and I wanted to share that with you. Now, one of the things I was able to do, and I'm not proud of it, in developing this, I was the original bully of the 70s. And when I talk about bullying, I'm going to say it to we, because I sometimes talk to students in auditoriums, and I felt what they might feel. So we as bullies, here's what I've learned about us. We need acceptance, attention, approval, people pleasers. We don't like rejections. Why? It's because we're not tough. We don't like ourselves as much as we should. We're missing the self-qualities. Self-esteem, self-love, self-worth, self-discipline, self-development. Somewhere along the line we're missing those things. So I might have always come across as trying to be tough and such, but I'm not, wasn't, and neither are you. You're doing something to make up for a deficit, just like I did. Now, one of the best things that ever happened to me, which was perhaps the lowest point I had as a human being, and I learned a few other aspects of bullying that way besides being one myself and realizing I'm lacking self-qualities, and so therefore I try to get my self-attention, self-love, acceptance from the outside world, because I'm missing it here. And this system began 40 years ago as I was a freshman in college. Now again, I'm not proud of this, and don't laugh with this because it wasn't funny at the time, but because I need because I need approval, attention, acceptance, because I'm a people pleaser, I'm hanging little hotshot Mike Lisowski, who wants to look like a cool guy, would always put himself in positions that he would hang with the BMOC, big men on campus, so I would be looked at as cool guy, hanging with the football players, soccer players, whatever. This one particular time, I remember being in the cafeteria line. It was the day before school ended, my freshman year. I was getting ready to study for a final test I had, but I went to eat lunch with the BMOC, and again, hotshot Mike Lisowski, who needs attention, looks at the cafeteria line, and in the front of the line, about 20 or 30 feet at the beginning, was a young, looked like a freshman girl, clutching her books to her chest, well dressed, a little better than she probably had to for that time of day. She probably just gave a presentation in a final class, and she was bothering nobody. And that's when I struck, because I had that quick wit, was able to say things on command that I thought were funny, was funny, and I did think this thing I was going to say was funny. It was degrading, like all the other things that I might have done to get attention for myself. I look up, I see the girl in the front, and I go, yo, you guys, look at that girl's nose is so big we could open beer cans with it. To me, then, that was funny. To me, then, or to them at the time, it was also funny. They all start laughing again, getting my attention. Hey, did you guys hear what Lisowski just said? He said we could open beer cans with that girl's nose. I didn't say it loud so she would hear it. I was a covert bully. See, one thing I want to get across with bullying, they're not bad people. They just don't get it. We're not bad people. I just didn't get it at the time. As a matter of fact, concerning me, I was a honor student, altar boy, Catholic religion, Boy Scout. morals, honors, values, morals, values, and ethics. Boy, my scoutmaster would be mad at me for that one. Not a bad guy, but I'm missing something again. And you know what it is, the self-qualities inside here. So bullies, not bad people, they just don't get it. So as the cafeteria, I went back to eat with a BMOC, and the cafeteria starts to filter out. I remember being in this big room, and I remember walking up to get one more glass of milk at the dispenser, looking down at my book, couldn't see too much of where I was going, other than I know where the machine was. I get up to the machine, and standing right here next to me, the only person in the whole cafeteria left, there was two, her and me. And she was that girl I made fun of, the girl with the big nose, which wasn't. But I had to make fun at the time. And I look at her, and she looks at me and said nothing. But what I noticed was 4 Nile rivers of tears coming out of her eyes. She left after saying nothing, never saw her again, but that riveted me for 3 things. It bothered the heck out of me. I just abused some daughter, some father's daughter, pride of his life, mother's daughter, somebody she showed off so proudly growing up, and I abused him. I thought of my 32-year-old girl at the time. If she was ever a freshman in college and that happened, I would have been crushed. So it bothered the heck out of me. But the good news of that, I got 3 things that I employed in this bully formula. Number 1, it was only when I realized I was isolated one-on-one with the person I just made fun of, and saw the pain I caused in that person, that I was crushed, because I made fun of a fellow member of the human race. I crushed a fellow human being, and I only realized that from looking at her. And the 3rd thing I got out of that, because it did bother me for the rest of the day, it bothered me for a long time after that. I have a certain degree of empathy, sympathy, feel sorry for somebody, empathy, put yourself in somebody else's position, and that empathy in me made me realize that I really crushed some other human being. So, as I traveled through life, I well remembered those 3 things. And as I become a high school teacher and a high school principal and had discipline problems coming up to me, I was able to remember well what I learned from my past 40 years ago as a freshman in college and incorporate in the following way. Basically had 3 main rules in school. Number 1, don't take a teacher's mind off what they're doing. Number 2, don't ever, I would tell this to students, don't ever take education away from other students. And number 3, there was an invisible sign above every door that entered into our building, which said, anybody who enters this building has a right not to be harassed. And they do. It's a family show. We're in there to teach and tell young people how to grow up correctly. No need for harassment there. What I also would encourage, I made sure this bullying platform I had, that nobody else had the right to be abused, was known by everybody. Because I never wanted students to go back home and say that they were getting bullied in school to a parent if I never knew about it. Now, I realize why students would do that, because they never wanted to be looked at as a tattletale. So much of the times they never wanted to come up and tell a teacher or a principal, because they might be viewed as to the rest of the student body as that, a tattletale. So I always, when they would come in, I would always bring up this, the concept of the grapevine. I would say, you don't have to worry about hearing that you're a tattletale, because I'm always going to say that I heard it through the grapevine from other students that you were being bullied, from other teachers. I might even say that I'm walking down the hall and I heard a couple kids talking about bullying and how they were picking on you. So that's something you never had to worry about. And then I would tell the student the best way to handle this is with 3 meetings. Now I'm talking to the student, I'm going to call him the victim or the target, and I would say, I'm going to give you a chance to make a decision here. You're either going to deal with me, yourself, and the aggressor, the bully, or else we're going to have a meeting with your parents, his parents, other teachers, guidance counselors. It's going to become a big thing. I would always try to encourage them to pick me for that meeting, and I would do it by saying, plus if you do it like that, you're going to deal with me, him, and you being there. You're showing that you're sticking up for themselves. You're doing a good thing. You're starting to learn that you want to handle conflicts on your own. And number 3, you're going to be showing some good faith, because when I bring the target, the bully himself in, I'm going to say that, hey, our young man here, the kid you were bullying, the victim, the target, wants to deal with just us so he doesn't get you, bully, in any more trouble by telling parents. So that kid always, that victim always would say, let's try us, and I would send him out, and I would say, again, I commend you on what you're doing. I would call the aggressor down next, and I would keep the bully and the aggressor separate, and I'd sit him down. And I'd say, first of all, I don't know. I wouldn't blame him. I'm not accusing you, but I got it through the grapevine that you were out there harassing another student. So whether true or not, I'm going to have a meeting with you and him and me. But you make a choice. Do you want it like that with just the 3 of us? Or do you want me to get his parents and him, your parents and you, teachers, guidance counselors, even if it's bad enough, the man with the badge, police, if it's a really bad harassment thing. And I would do the exact same thing again, saying, hey, if you deal with us 3, a couple good things that come out of it, you're learning conflict resolution, and you are learning how to make a problem go away on your own. Now, every time that student would say, yeah, I'd rather deal with you and me and him. And the one thing I would say is, you got to make sure, this is not my issue, this is your issue. You got to make sure that problem goes away. Then finally, I get the 3rd meeting with the 3 of us, and I would always have the aggressor or the bully sitting down in one chair. I would have a chair ready for me, and I would have a chair for the target. I would always slide my chair over a little towards the target, and I would ask him to come in. Now, I had him prepped always. I told him before in these individual meetings, look, I want to make sure you know how to introduce yourself, and I especially said this to the target. I said, I want you to be firm, say your name, make sure you know when you handshake that it's a nice firm grip up high in the Y right here. You say your name distinctly, and you know what color that person's eyes are. Now, why would I always do that? That means they get eye contact. And I had the aggressor know the same thing. So when they came in, stand up, shake hands. I really talked about that shaking hands pretty good as a distraction, as I was teaching, just like I was teaching both of them, to get the mood off the negative thing, which was the actual, I shouldn't say it was a negative thing, the bullying aspect that we're going to be dealing with. And I would say, hey, great job to both of you again. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of you because you are dealing with things the right way. You are dealing with things man on man with nobody else there. You're learning conflict resolution, and I think that's great that you're dealing like that. I would always say to the aggressor, look, he's going to tell you 3 things. You, again, are going to have a chance to respond to them, try to make it right so we don't have to go any further with this. I would have the target, the victim, mention 3 things. I would say, tell him 3 things about what's going on here, what was done, how it made you feel, and what you want to see done from that. And so he would be telling me, I said, no, you look right over here at him. I'm going to pretend I'm not even here right now. I'm going to back away a little. I would have our target over here mention to the aggressor those 3 things. What was done, how it made me feel, and what I want to see done from that. And he might be over here saying, I really don't like the way you were making fun of me in front of all those other kids. It made me feel terrible, and I just want to see it stopped. Now, I would always tell the aggressor after that first of all, this young man is sticking up for you because he doesn't want your parents to be told. He wants to take care of this all on his own, and he mentioned those 3 concerns. So again, I'm going to back myself away, and you 2 gentlemen talk it up between each other. And I would tell again the aggressor to make this right, and I would step away, observe how the reaction was going, and believe it or not, this aggressor saw every time, every case, a human being that he was bothering because they were isolated, just like I saw 1973 when I'm a freshman in college. And I could see how they would start getting engaged, and I would back away even further, and I would judge if their talk was going up. I'd actually sometimes might walk off and leave the room, even though, although I'm still listening, and I'd have those guys talk things, and I could see, and again, 100% of the time, things are working out well. I'd come back in, I'd sit in the middle, and I'd say to our target, well, how are things going? And the target would say, we're doing great. There's no problem with things now. He mentioned that it's not going to happen anymore. I would mention over here to the aggressor, hey, great job. Great job for making a problem go away. As a matter of fact, great job to both of you, because you're doing something a lot of adults don't know how to do. You're learning how to handle conflict, and you're sticking up for yourselves. In doing so, there's one thing I want to say before I dismiss, and I always tell the aggressor, look, don't have any of your friends get involved here. Don't have any friends come up and harass. So you don't get involved anymore. Friends don't, because if you do, we're going to have that kind of meeting that involves parents on both sides, teachers, guidance counselors. But again, I'm commending them all, and I'm going to have the target leave. I'm going to give him an exit interview. So they both stand, shake hands, say their names, and final thing you do is assure our target over here that you're not going to have problems anymore. Now, as I'm walking out, I'll say I'll be right back with you, and right back with the aggressor, although I never called him that. I would take the young man out, the target. I would say, boy, you did a great job in there. I don't want you to go out and gloat to the rest of the student body that, hey, I went in and I really had a chance to dress down the aggressor. So just go on your own way, and nice job. See you later. Come back in. I'm going to talk to the aggressor and say, man, you did an outstanding job right there. You really did. You learned something really big, how to handle problems. Hopefully, you learned also that you and me have or had a connection at one time. We bully because we need acceptance, approval, attention. I would say to them also, let's worry about developing the self-qualities in you, because you got a lot more going for it than you might think. And here's one of the biggest things I realized out of all this. So the good thing that comes out of this is you could become one of the best teachers in the school now, because you understand how it works. You understand that you really kind of made fun of another human, but it's when you saw him one-on-one that you realized the bad thing you were doing. You didn't understand what you were doing, just like I didn't understand 40 years ago. I would even sometimes tell them about my situation with that girl, but I would say, you could be a great teacher out there. See, this is how bullying does end in school. It comes from the inside out. Students have to learn on their own. They have to become aware. And yes, could the problem of bullying be stopped in the United States? Absolutely. I've seen it done. I've seen how our school became much better, became basically after a while bully-free, because kids got that concept across. So yes, it could stop. Great job, Mr. Aggressor. Shake hands, he goes on his way. That's the results. You have two things I want you to be aware of. And when I'm saying you, I'm usually talking to high school principal or facilitators of this program, but who I really want to have see this is, I don't mind if students saw it, because they'd have a chance for me to tell them that, yeah, you're missing something in here. And you don't like yourself, and you're not as tough as you might think. How do I know? Because I was you at one time. I wouldn't mind if parents had a chance to see this, so they would understand the concept that goes across. And I wouldn't mind if teachers saw it, because they could do the exact same thing. But the two final things I want you to realize is, you got to watch for kids that might come in. I'm going to say there's targets, or I'm not going to say, I might say they're, again, what we say, victims before. You got to watch sometimes. If you see the same kid coming in too much, these are a kid that claim victimitis. It's always everybody else's fault. It's never a chance for them to look inside. And man, they're always looking at themselves as being picked on, and it might not actually be bullying. It might be them. So I always kept that in the back of my mind, seeing, boy, if I have to, I'm going to shuffle him off to the guidance counselor to deal with that problem. That's pretty much the system I had, not the guru, but something that worked 100% of the time. And I recommend giving a good look with that. Otherwise, thanks for being a great audience. This is Mike signing off. See you later. Hey, surprise, I'm back. What I did is a lot of filming yesterday. Last night I did a lot of editing. Today, I just went on a Pennsylvania cross-country ski, and what I want to do is just go over a couple more things I might have forgotten. I'm really big into this line of, I never let perfection be the enemy of good. I'd rather get things out than wait for perfection. I've had a lot of successes in life, but I've had a lot of failure trophies. I'm not afraid to flaunt failure trophies. I'm very human. My editing here is a D minus. Presentation that I gave yesterday, let's just say it's substandard, a lot of repetitions, some things I left out, but content will make it an A+, and that's what we're looking for. Incidentals, yeah, I spoke a lot with the masculine gender yesterday. He mentioned a lot of that, okay? This same thing with both sexes, guys, girls, exact same technique for both. Concerning groups of kids, if you have 4 kids bullying one, yeah, what I always did, I had 4 separate meetings. It took longer, but that was the only way you got to the, you made the problem disappear. When won't this work? there are certain types of, there is a certain type of student, we'll call that the incorrigible student. Now remember, 3 rules. Never take a teacher's mind off what they're doing, never take education away from another student. Well, incorrigible students can't follow those rules. And when they can't, they don't belong in a normal school. They belong at a school that's got more structure, that offers emotional support. I have no problems, never did, removing a student from the normal, typical student body, not depriving them of education, but they don't have the right to take education from others, take a teacher's mind off what they're doing, or to bully other kids. Otherwise, I think we got it all pretty good right there. This whole thing about bullying, it's got to come from within the students, within the student body. And that is why I always like to have them look at their own behaviors. Yeah, I know sometimes it's good to get to threaten with discipline, to threaten with police work and such, and yeah, that will work, but that's that external discipline. We want to give it the internal, where it comes from itself. So that's basically it. Look, I love presenting. I really do believe this program that I presented is all we need. I do my best to spread the word. Don't hesitate to call if you want a presentation somewhere. And I really do appreciate your listening, your showing up here. And I won't be back, but I do want you to have a good rest of the day. Okay, bye. This is Mike, out.